Hey, I'm Daniel, and welcome to another episode of my podcast, The Filmcraziest Show. On this episode, I spoke with music supervisor Iain Cooke for the new Apple TV Plus original series 1971, The Year That Music Changed Everything, a docu-series about the musicians and soundtracks that shaped the culture and politics of the year 1971. It's a fun, short conversation, so let's get right into it.
Hi Daniel, nice to meet you.
So, Ian, nice to meet you. My first question is, you worked on Asif Kapadia's documentary Amy. So I was just curious, what was it like working with him again on this project?
Yeah, Asif is an incredible filmmaker. He's arguably the best around at what he does, and it's always such a joy to work with him and the team. Um, you're right. I was music supervisor on the Amy Winehouse film, and also on the Diego Maradona film. And now on this absolute behemoth of a series that is 1971. As I was saying to someone earlier, that it was actually around the time of the Amy premiere 6 years ago that I found out that James Gay Rees, the producer, had optioned an early manuscript of the David Hepworth book, Never a Dull Moment. And so we started having some early conversations and some viability conversations about how these films could be made. And yeah, 6 years on, we're ready to share with the world.
Okay, so 1971 is based on that book.
Yeah, so there's a David Hepworth book. It's I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't say the documentary series was based on the book. I think the book started the conversations around that year and all the pivotal albums that have been released. And then this documentary series is its own story and its own take on that pivotal year.
Okay, okay, cool. Now, you doing the music supervision for this for 1971, do you kind of consider yourself a music historian for 1971 now?
Yeah, I think that's one of the absolute joys of the role is that no single project is the same, and hopefully all music supervisors are music nuts and crate diggers and want to immerse themselves in different genres and different eras. Some of which will come to a project with an inherent knowledge or specialism in, and some of it is really researching and reading around and listening to as much as possible and and forming your own perspective on the year or the genre. Yeah.
Okay, was this process for this project different than ones that you've had before?
I think I guess the difference for this project, a lot of the work I do is in drama, where really it's a blank slate and you're working with the filmmakers to tell the story and trying to find tonally what it is. Whereas obviously the inherent soundtrack of this series was rooted in 1971, whether that's albums that were released in the year or recorded in the year. And so I guess that narrows what it is to some respects. Um, but also, I think with the editorial team, because they're trying to discover what the story is and what the different story arcs and thematic chapters are, a lot of the those editorial decisions might be made by them locally, and my job becomes a rights negotiation with the various catalogues and estates and rights holders, and making sure that the filmmakers are able to tell the story that they want, and realise that on screen. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have a favorite song that you used for the project?
A favourite song. There was 150 different songs in the series by 58 different artists and I think 108 different songwriters. Um, there's many. it's interesting actually because I think there's certain songs that really do resonate when you watch the series. For example, Leonard Cohen, Avalanche, over the Attica Blues prison riot is just mesmerizing and haunting and everything you want it to be. There's Stevie Wonder's Evil over a particularly harrowing sequence that really hits home. And I think sometimes the I guess the editorial choices and the binding of those to different stories actually elevates the song in a way that the commentary um, reveals. I think even when there's very literal songs, like when Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young sing again about the Kent State Massacre, which is actually pre-71, but it's people picking up a guitar and singing about real events. Likewise with Bob Dylan singing about George Jackson. I think there's such a political awareness to these songwriters of the era that's perhaps missing nowadays. You know, John Lennon talking about "I don't want to be a soldier, Mom," or "I don't want to die." Marvin Gaye writing a whole record about what's going on, really in protest to his brother being drafted in the Vietnam War. I think, you know, I'm incredibly in awe of the body of work that this year presented.
Awesome. So that's already my time. So Ian Cook, thank you very much for chatting with me.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you, Daniel. All the
Nice to
best.
meet you. Enjoy the rest of your interviews.
Cheers.